Here are the top stories for today, June 1, 2020. The DILG urges LGUs to open bike lanes amid reduced public transportation under the general community quarantine. The Joint Task Force COVID Shield appeals for understanding as restrictions are enforced during GCQ to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The Mindanao Development Authority, or Minda, consults LGUs in Mindanao on the implementation of the Balik Probinsya program. And Defense Chief Lorenzana defends the anti-terror bill from negative impressions affecting civil liberties. Good day, I'm Rom Dulfo. Welcome to PNA Newsroom. As the country transitions to a new normal, the Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, is urging all local government units to establish bicycle lanes in all local roads to support those who will bike to their work destinations. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año says local governments must also ensure that all bicycle lanes are free from any obstruction to prevent any untoward road accidents. He said LGUs should follow the DOTR's design approach of putting up plastic bollards, stencil markings, and signage in the designated bike lanes for the safety of the bicycling public, especially in major thoroughfares. He also reminded LGUs to strictly implement health and safety protocols, including the mandatory wearing of face masks of the persons using said lanes and in all public areas. Meanwhile, the DILG Undersecretary and spokesperson Jonathan Malaya says motor taxis such as Angkas are still not allowed during GCQ and MECQ. He said motorcycle back ride is prohibited even for married couples as part of the physical distancing measures. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, reiterates the importance of validation process to check if there were duplication in the provision of financial aid. DSWD said it is aware of the needs of low-income Filipino families whose members still cannot work due to the community quarantine. However, it is necessary to complete the validation process before the release of the second tranche of the assistance. DSWD appealed to local government units to expedite the encoding and transmittal of their complete liquidation reports to its field offices, as the validation and evaluation process will only be conducted once the data has been submitted in full. As of May 29, some 490 LGUs have submitted their encoded SAC forms. For those who are awaiting for the resumption of domestic flights, the Civil Aeronautics Board says they are also waiting for the approval from the interagency task force. In an advisory, CAB Executive Director Carmelo Arcilia said the IATF has yet to approve the routes for domestic operations in the first week of June 2020. Airlines are advised to cancel their flights on June 1, 2020 and to stop selling tickets for the said date. Following the CAB advisory, PAL revised its plans and announced on Saturday evening that its domestic flights would resume on June 8. Cebu Pacific and CebGo will resume passenger flights on June 2, 2020 with a limited number of domestic flights, while AirAsia is set to gradually resume services in the Philippines on June 3. The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, or POAA, warned the public, particularly would-be overseas Filipino workers, against online illegal recruitment schemes. POAA said the public should be cautious against unscrupulous individuals who misrepresent themselves as officers and staff of licensed recruitment agencies in order to entice job seekers. POAA warns the public to ignore these online advertisements and not to give or deposit money, especially through remittance centers. Overseas job seekers are advised to use the POAA verification system at the POAA website or email the POAA Information Center. You may also call or email them for any suspicious or illegal activities pertaining to online recruitment scams. The Joint Task Force Coronavirus Shield is set to enforce restrictions under the GCQ. Meanwhile, over 300 police are infected with COVID-19. More on these from Marita Muahe.
Joint Task Force COVID Shield Commander Lieutenant General Guillermo Eleazar appealed for understanding as some freedoms will still be restricted to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Under more relaxed general community quarantine, Eleazar said indispensable travels related to medical and family emergencies do not require travel authority if the travel is within the province. But travels involving two provinces still require travel authority. Those who have no travel authority will be barred from passing the quarantine control points except for workers and other people listed as authorized person outside residence. For more information about the issuance of travel authority, the public can contact the JTF COVID Shield and PNP helpline. For those who have need to get their licenses, permits, and clearances from the PNP, frontline administrative functions and regulatory services will resume on June 4, and the recruitment program is postponed until further notice. Meanwhile, the number of police officers infected with COVID-19 has reached 315. The PNP Health Service reports 163 recoveries while the death toll stands at 4. It is also monitoring 696 probable cases and 677 suspected cases. More than 60% of the infected cops are from the NCRPO and are deployed on checkpoint duties. Last week, the PNP officially opened its COVID-19 testing center in Camp Crame after getting accreditation from the Department of Health. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Moahe.
Still to come, the PCSO lowers its application and renewal fees for aspiring game agents. The Mindanao Development Authority, or Minda, consults LGUs in Mindanao on the implementation of the Balik Probinsya program. More on this when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ano ang General Community Quarantine o GCQ? Ang General Community Quarantine ay tumutukoy sa pagpapatupad ng mga pansamantalang hakbang na naglilimita sa paggalaw at transportasyon, regulasyon ng mga bukas na industriya at presensya ng mga unipormadong personnel para ipatupad ang mga protokol ng community quarantine. Ito ay ipinatutupad sa mga lugar na nabibilang sa moderate risk at low risk areas batay sa bilang ng mga kaso ng COVID-19. Sa ilalim ng GCQ, patuloy pa ring ipapatupad ang safe physical distancing at pagsusuot ng face mask. Ang publiko ay pinapayuhan din na palaging maghugas ng mga kamay. Anong mga aktibidad ang pwedeng gawin sa ilalim ng GCQ? Pagbili ng mahahalagang bagay at serbisyo. Pagtatrabaho sa mga opisina o industriyang pinahihintulutang magbukas. Sino-sino ang mga mananatili sa bahay? Sino mang wala pa sa 21 taong gulang? Mga nasa edad na 60 taon at pataas, may immunodeficiency, comorbidity o iba pang may panganib sa kalusugan, mga buntis, at kabilang na ang sino mang kasama sa bahay ng mga binanggit. Ano-anong industriya ang maaaring mag-operate sa ilalim ng GCQ? Unang kategorya ng mga industriya. Pangalawang kategorya ng mga industriya. Pangatlong kategorya ng mga industriya. Ang trabaho sa lahat ng opisina ng pamahalaan ay maaaring magbukas ng ganap o sa ilalim ng katulad na alternatibong paraan ng pagtatrabaho. Walang hotel o mga katulad na establishmento ang pinapayagang magbukas, maliban sa mga nagbibigay ng akomodasyon sa mga sumusunod. Ano-anong aktibidad ang ipinagbabawal? Malakihang pagtitipong hindi autorisado, di kailangang gawain, may kaugnayan sa entertainment. Hindi hinihikayat ang mga pagtitipong panrelihiyon. Suspendido ang mga residensyal o harapang face-to-face klase sa buong panahon ng GCQ. Maaari bang mag-operate ang mga pampublikong transportasyon? Ang mga sektor ng kalsada, riles, maritime at aviation ng pampublikong transportasyon ay magbubukas ng may bawas na operasyon at pansasakyang kapasidad. Ang mahigpit na 1 metrong distansya sa pagitan ng mga pasahero ay dapat sundin. Pinapayagan ang limitadong operasyon ng mga mall at shopping center maliban sa mga establishmento at mga serbisyong panlibangan na maaaring sarado. Lahat ng pampubliko at pribadong proyekto sa konstruksyon ay pinapayagan. Aling mga industriya ang hindi papayagang magbukas? Mga establishmento sa paglilibang, pagsusugal at fitness, industriyang pambata at panturismo. Pinapayagan ang mga individual na ehersisyo sa labas gaya ng paglalakad, jogging, pagtakbo o pagbibisikleta sa mga lugar na nasa GCQ. Ang kooperasyon ng bawat isa ay kailangan upang maging epektibo ang pagpapatupad ng GCQ nang tuluyang mapuksa ang COVID sa ating bansa. Stay safe, stay at home.
The Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office lowers its application and renewal fees for game agents. PCSO General Manager Royina Garma said those who lost their jobs due to the COVID-19 pandemic can apply to become an authorized agent of its games at an affordable price. For only 2,500 peso one-time application fee, you can be a Lotto, Keno, and Sweepstakes agent subject to compliance with other requirements. The PCSO also decreased the renewal fee from 3,750 pesos to 1,000 pesos for a period of 2 years. Sales agents can also get 7.5% sales commission, while 5% for digit games and Keno, 10% for scratch cards, and 1% of the jackpot prize, or a maximum of 1 million pesos. The Bureau of Customs seized medical supplies and equipment worth 50 million pesos in San Juan and Malabon warehouses owned by Omnibus Biomedical System Incorporated. The Bureau of Customs said the importer will face charges if it cannot show proof that it paid duties and taxes to the government. Omnibus Biomedical System was tagged in a recent Senate inquiry for selling overpriced automatic extraction machines to the government and is under investigation for alleged smuggling operations. Authorities also suspect that the company is involved in hoarding and selling of overpriced high-pressure steam sterilizer, blood bags, books, real-time quantitative thermal cycler, and other medical supplies and equipment. As the world continues to grapple with the COVID-19 outbreak, UN experts warn that the number of people who could go hungry in the poorest countries would double this year. The World Food Programme said the economic outlook and risks of food insecurity continues to darken because of effects of the pandemic, posing further threats to regions in Africa that are already battling extreme poverty. Its latest forecasts show that an estimated 265 million people could go hungry this year, nearly doubling 2019 figures. It says countries depending heavily on tourism, remittances, food imports, or primary commodities exports are going to face a dire situation. The first factor hurting vulnerable economies is the price of primary commodities, which have plunged as the price of crude oil fell to record lows. The second is tourism, which contributes significantly to foreign exchange earnings in many fragile countries, and remittances are expected to fall dramatically. The other key factor impacting the poorest countries is the dependence on food imports. To help vulnerable populations cope with the pandemic and its economic fallout, the World Food Programme says it is cooperating with local governments to help build safety nets to be able to shield people who are losing jobs and becoming exposed to extreme poverty. The Mindanao Development Authority is working with local government units in preparation for the implementation of the Balik Probinsya program. More on this and other news around the metro from Chris Mundo.
The Mindanao Development Authority has completed a series of consultations with local government units and regional directors of line agencies for the implementation of the Balik Probinsya program in Mindanao. Minda Secretary Emmanuel Piñol said he will present the concerns of LGUs as they stage the rollout of the 3 model resettlements. Piñol said Minda will ensure the program will succeed in Mindanao as he hoped they would be able to provide a template for Balik Probinsya communities in other parts of the country. In Nueva Ecija, the Department of Agrarian Reform will give land to landless Filipinos who would venture into agriculture upon their return to the provinces in support of the Balik Probinsya program. DAR Secretary John Castreciones last Friday said they have about 420,000 privately acquired lands and about 150,000 government-owned lands for distribution to beneficiaries. DAR has also waged a housing program called Balay Magsasaka, a revolutionized settlement program for Filipino farmers. Castreciones led a distribution of food packs, vitamins and medicines to agrarian reform beneficiaries and organizations in Gabaldon Town and Balayan City. In other news, the Department of Science and Technology is encouraging businessmen to support the government's Balik Probinsya program by putting up technology-related businesses in the provinces. DOST Secretary Fortunato de la Peña said the agency plans to launch soon the expanded opportunities for development through the use of science and technology or Exodus program. Through the program, De La Peña said that the agency would provide technical assistance to the possible investor. The DOST has identified several growth areas where putting up businesses would help in the Balik Probinsya program, such as Cebu and Batangas. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Up next, Defense Secretary Lorenzana defends the anti-terror bill from negative impressions affecting civil liberties. And a family creates ear savers for COVID-19 frontliners. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Mga mommies, pagdating sa COVID-19, dapat hindi tayo kampante. Bagamat hindi nakikita ang sakit na ito ay nakamamatay. At hanggang ngayon wala pa rin lunas. Kaya protektahan natin ang ating pamilya. Laging maghugas ng kamay, huwag hahawakan ng mukha, at manatili sa bahay para makaiwas sa sakit na ito. Tandaan, buhay ng pamilya natin ang nakasalalay dito. Let's hear this one.
Hi Caps! Kamusta?
Well, ito dahil sa COVID-19, medyo stress.
Okay lang yan, Caps. Napagdaanan ko din yan.
Ano kaya pwede natin gawin, no?
Kung nararamdaman mo na gulong-gulo ka na sa mga naririnig mo, sa mga nababasa mo, mag-pause ka muna, saka ka huminga ng malalim.
Buti na lang tumawag ka. Iba talaga pag may nangangamusta.
A strong body starts with a strong mind.
Tama. Let's heal as one.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Defense Chief Lorenzana scored communist rebels and their allies for painting a negative impression on a new measure seeking to boost the country's anti-terrorism law. Lorenzana on Sunday accused the detractors of the proposed Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020 of adding their own interpretation of certain provisions to scare people. He maintains The proposed law has safeguards of civil liberties and sanctions to law enforcement agencies. Lorenzana also assured the public that this law will not be used against the political opposition and progressive groups. On Friday, the House Committee on Public Order and Safety and Committee on National Defense and Security approved the still unnumbered substitute bill. The proposed bill would provide a strong legal backbone to support the country's response to terrorism, equip law enforcers with the much-needed tools to protect the people from the threat of terrorism, and safeguard the rights of those accused of the crime. President Duterte has thanked His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa for granting royal pardon to 16 Filipinos in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Presidential Assistant on Foreign Affairs and Chief of Presidential Protocol Robert Borge on Sunday described the release of the 16 Filipinos as an act of humanity. He points out the royal pardon is testament to the abiding ties between the Philippines and the Kingdom of Bahrain and the strong relations with Bahrain's king. According to the Bahrain news agency, their king recently issued a royal decree pardoning and releasing 154 prisoners. 2 of the Filipinos were pardoned on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr. In April 2017, the Philippines and Bahrain signed 4 agreements, including setting up a joint commission on bilateral trade, avoidance of double taxation, strengthening of aviation links, and new investments. The government is looking into ways to repatriate thousands of overseas Filipinos stranded in various parts of the world. This, as the Labor Department reports, close to 100,000 affected OFWs as of May 29. The OFWs are either affected by lockdowns due to the COVID-19 pandemic, those distressed, seeking to be repatriated, or those whose work contracts have expired but cannot return to the Philippines. Majority of the stranded OFWs are land-based workers in the Middle East and Asia, while a number of workers in the Europe-Americas region are sea-based. The Philippine Overseas Labor Offices in 40 foreign posts also report that over 36,000 OFWs have been repatriated since the outbreak of the pandemic. Meanwhile, the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration said over 23,000 OFWs had embarked for their safe homecoming with their families in the provinces. All transported OFWs were given clearances after undergoing COVID-19 tests following prolonged quarantine. The Health Department is working with the Department of the Interior and Local Government on the emergency hiring of contact tracers in strengthening its efforts to fight the spread of COVID-19. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere said this effort could help those who lost their jobs due to the pandemic and are currently seeking employment, such as medical professionals. Expected duties include data gathering, interviewing cases and close contacts to gather data on travel history, conducting health assessment, and advocating public health. Earlier, the DOH asked the DILG to also consider tapping barangay health workers and social workers in support of our national response against COVID-19. The Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, will allot 5 million pesos worth of initial funding for its latest livelihood program for overseas Filipino workers. The Innovation for Filipinos Working Distantly from the Philippines, or IFWDPH, aims to provide opportunities to the OFWs and their families to establish technology-based enterprise in the Philippines. Eligible businesses must be technology-based, such as food processing and electronics. DOST Chief Fortunato de la Peña said 25 to 30 OFWs can be accommodated for this year. The program will be available in Metro Manila and would be gradually rolled out to other regions in the future. A family is giving back to frontliners in the fight against COVID-19 by making ear savers. Entrepreneur Yasmin Mangila Ponce said she thought of knitting ear savers when she learned that some frontliners were getting sore ears from constantly wearing face masks. She said she was inspired by her friends who made ear savers using ribbon strips, which they posted on social media. She started creating crochet ear saver bands on April 11 after Metro Manila was placed under ECQ. Yasmin said her husband Lemuel, a businessman, and her children Leon and Mita eventually helped her make more ear savers. The family has already donated hundreds of ear saver bands to medical doctors, health workers, bank frontliners, and uniformed personnel. Yasmin said she targets to make more ear saver bands as long as they are needed by COVID-19 frontliners. Take another look at today's biggest stories. The DILG urges LGUs to open bike lanes amid reduced public transportation under the general community quarantine. The Joint Task Force COVID Shield appeals for understanding as restrictions are enforced during GCQ to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The Mindanao Development Authority, or Minda, consults LGUs in Mindanao on the implementation of the Balik Probinsya program. And Defense Chief Lorenzana defends the anti-terror bill from negative impressions affecting civil liberties. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government, how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags on all our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's a daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from PNA Newsroom. I'm Rom Dulfo. Good day and stay at home.